Hugh Freeze needs Chad Lunsford to save the special teams unit.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Jake Crain of Crain & Company with the Daily Wire hanging out with us for a few minutes. Auburn hired Chad Lunsford earlier in the week. I wanted to wait till we had you on to talk about this. Of course, he is Auburn's new special teams coach, and I'm very pro hiring a guy to lead the special teams unit, not coach tight ends and special teams, not coach linebackers and special teams. I'm very pro having a special teams coach, and that seems like that's what this is with Chad Lunsford. Jake, the bar is so low with how Auburn's special teams performed a year ago. Surely this is a step in the right direction.
Oh, I think it is. And you bring up a good point, being able to, coordinate a side of the ball and not have to worry about anything else, even if, the volume of the amount of special teams plays is lesser than offense and defense. It makes it a lot easier. I think you can be more aggressive. Obviously, you can be more specific as far as practice time goes. I had to do both, when I had the special teams all to myself and that was it. And then I had, special teams and DBs or special teams and linebackers or special teams and running backs. And it does add more to your plate. Not that it's impossible, but being able to narrow your focus, especially with a guy like, Coach Lunsford, who's done this before, who's done it at different levels. I think it was a really good hire by Coach Freeze, and he's familiar with Auburn. He's been at Auburn, before. You look at what he did from a scouting standpoint too, so he understands the lay of the land. He knows where the silverware drawer is. As far as Tanner Burns, man, I tell you what, and kudos to him. I've never seen anybody fail up more than that guy. It was shocking to me. After watching Auburn be bad on special teams for a couple years, you can always find some positive stats if you look hard enough. But if you've watched Auburn play, they have not been good on special teams. And this guy, not only was going to coach the special teams again, they were going to give him more stuff. And look, I'm not in the room every day. I'm not, seeing what's going on. But I saw what happened on Saturdays, and it wasn't very good.
No, and it doesn't really matter the amount of effort you put in. If the product that you're over is consistently, I feel like bad is almost a disservice. It was awful.
It was awful.
If Auburn has average special teams, I think you look at several of the games differently because Hugh Freeze kind of publicly didn't really pull a lot of punches when he was like, yeah, we're starting every drive at the 5-yard lines. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do in those situations? And
if you can catch a punt, you beat Bama.
Yeah.
At every corner, it was a screw up. That actually worried me more than anything. And maybe it was, from a defensive standpoint, he was really valuable. Well, that's great. Let the man coach defense. Give special teams to somebody else because it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently Tanner was a really good recruiter, and maybe he helped build some of these classes over the last few years.
We'll do that.
If that's so, I'm thankful for it. But I don't want him coaching special teams. And I'm not even talking about the field goal kicking game. I think as a coach, there's only so much you can do when it comes to field goal kicking. Yeah. Now, could he have made the recommendation to, do you pull Towns maybe earlier in the season based off, because clearly he was in his head. I think he's very physically gifted as a kicker. I just don't think he was, winning the mental aspect of it. Do you make that change earlier? Maybe that's something he could have done. But regardless, Chad Lunsford, former head coach. And like you said, he was at Auburn, director of scouting from 2009 to 2012. But a guy who's coached special teams at a bunch of different stops, Georgia Military, Georgia Southern, and then Florida Atlantic. I think it checks the boxes. I guess my big question is, how much of a recruiter can he be? Hugh Freeze isn't going to hire you unless he thinks you can be a recruiter. So I am kind of curious to see what that aspect looks like when we talk about Chad Lunsford.
Yeah, and to your point, that's an element you have to have. And I tell you, when you look at somebody's resume from a recruiting standpoint, it does make you feel pretty good when you look and you say, "Oh, where's he been?" Okay, Georgia Southern, Georgia Military, back to Georgia Southern, Florida Atlantic. So if you know the lay of the land and have relationships with guys in Georgia and Florida, that's where I would start. It's not like, well, he's coming from Delaware and Rhode Island. He's got a couple really good players out of there. No, he's from the absolute fertile grounds of where the best players come from. So, and again, like I said, he's director of scouting at Auburn for 3 years, from 2009 to 2012. So he knows structurally where to go. You look at his relationship with Griffin High School, which is a very, very big hotbed for talent.
Sure.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and it checks a lot of boxes. They call it the Bruce Pearl method. You want to make Auburn better? Recruit Georgia.
No kidding. Yeah, we can't have a hold on every kickoff return. Like, that's got to stop. It has to stop.
Yeah, like, dude,
it has to.
Again, if you watched it, and there was a couple good things that happened in special teams, but it was so consistently bad. I can't believe this was going to continue. Like, I can't believe it was. If you're a great recruiter and you're a really good coach on defense, just do that. Just do that. I would rather you have like a GA get a contractor to come in and do it, right? Like, I would rather that happen, but it was so bad. That did worry me, but I think Coach Freeze definitely brought in the right guy this time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of this move alone, the staff is in a better spot now than it was last year because 100%. Of this one change. There's 100%. Been some other stuff, and I think it matters, but this one upgrade, I think, makes the staff better for sure. Sure. We've got an early line for Auburn and Baylor. I was a little surprised by it. Jake, I want to get your thoughts on that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Talkspace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule, it can be tough. And so that's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace is a leading virtual therapy provider, and it makes getting the help you need easy. With Talkspace, you sign up. It's very simple, and you kind of fill out a questionnaire, and then they pair you with the perfect therapist that you can message with outside of your sessions, as well as schedule upcoming ones, all from the comfort of your own home. Right now, as a listener of this podcast, you can get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege. And then you just enter the promo code SPACE80 and you get $80 off. That is promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It doesn't matter if it's for football, basketball, baseball. They've got you covered because they've got this new feature called Game Time Picks, and it filters out the fluff, and it only shows you the best deals available on great seats so you can focus on what matters. That's just being there. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Jake Crain of Crain & Company joining us for a few more minutes. The early line, according to our friends at FanDuel, when Auburn heads to Baylor on August 30th, Auburn a 1.5 point favorite. I thought the line would be a tad larger. I'm not going to lie to you, but this is virtually a pick 'em at this point. Does this surprise you? And do you see it moving any as we get closer to the season?
Obviously there'll be some movement. Which way, we'll see depending on how the injury bug affects each team. I never thought I'd sit here in a position and wish that it was our basketball team going to play Baylor on the road and not the football team, but that's where we sit.
Sure.
I'm nervous about this one, man. Sawyer Robinson scares me.
I'm nervous about it too.
Like, he could Fernando Mendoza us big time. I mean, you look at this guy; he's consistently gotten better. I know Baylor's had their problems, but you finish the season, against LSU, you go 30 of 51 for 445. Against Kansas, November 30th, you go 23 of 31 for 310. Against West Virginia, you go 26-36 for 329. He can cook.
Yeah.
I mean, against BYU, he threw for 330, and he can run. So I'm worried about Sawyer Robinson. I'm not as much concerned about what they have around them. Now, Dave Aranda, you look at the amount of pressure that he's going to be under this year. Obviously it's a big season for him.
Why is he under pressure? I mean, who is Baylor getting better than him?
I think they're looking at SMU and like, why not us? Like, I think SMU's put a lot of pressure, including on Joey McGuire and Texas Tech in that state. But I mean, Zach, if you look at Dave Aranda, it started off so well, and then it fell off a cliff, and now it's like decent. So he's gone through the whole spectrum of success. But where I think Auburn can make the most hay is on the line of scrimmage. That's where they're going to have to dominate this game. If they dominate the game that way, and Jackson Arnold can be effective with the RPO, they should win. They should be a better team. But it just feels like one of those games where I can't trust Auburn yet.
No,
I can't do it.
If this is at Jordan Hare, I feel a little bit different about it. But
I mean, I feel a little bit better. But at the end of the day, Auburn still got to prove it to all of us.
I'm with you.
This is Hugh's third year, so but it's a great opportunity to go to a place that is respected. Not that we know it; they're not the biggest of the big dogs, but to go into a place that's respected, play well, and get some confidence. You go win this game. It's not like drowning Alabama A&M in a small puddle and then thinking you're good. It's you'd be like, all right, we've got something here. Here's some legit confidence. It's going to be a test for the quarterbacks out of the gate. So I think it's a good litmus test, but it worries me. I mean, it just seems like one of those games where if you let this team hang around, Sawyer Robinson. This
game is like if Hugh Freeze loses this,
it'd
be really hard to not lose the whole season.
It could possibly start the death spiral, and you can't come out here and just keep. You can't lose to Cal and Baylor and some of these mid-level, I guess, mid-tier Power 5 teams is the best way to put it.
No, you're right. You're right. But it does prove Baylor was better than Auburn last year. They made it to a bowl game. We did not. And I think if you go there and prove something, I don't care how much you win by. If you win, I do think it kind of it'll give a sigh of, okay. All right, here we go. We have taken that step forward. Well, let's see what else we can stack on top of this. So we'll see. Auburn opens as a 1.5 point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. Jake Crain, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Oh man, really easy. I want to thank everybody. I know some people that watch the show were on the live stream, the College Football National Championship. We did. It got like 300,000 views. We're really
incredible.
Excited to do the NFC AFC Championship. We're going to do the NFL one for the first time ever from a cigar bar. Have a couple libations, watch the game, break it down, have a good time. Cool. But yeah, if you listen, it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you watch, we're on Roku, YouTube, Daily Wire Plus. I mean, we don't talk politics, but you can find us there. It's Crain & Company, CRAIN and Company, live each weekday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Central. If you can't catch us live, we stay on demand and talking a lot of hoops too, Zach. Big one this weekend. Let's just keep rolling up the quad ones. Just roll them up. I want to play basically a bunch of blind kids in the first round. I don't have to worry.
Yeah. No Yale, please.
No, please, no Yale.
No Yale.
No Princeton.
Keep them away from us, please.
Yeah, just no. Give me like the Alabama school of the one-handed Pirates.
Yeah, the team where you're like, how did they get an automatic bid?
Yeah, it's like they somehow won. Like they snuck through the MEAC tournament. They're like 8 and 24.
Oh, please.
Give us 2 of those. Bartender, I'll take a double.
Yeah, please. Yeah, get us the Sweet 16. That'd be great. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.